Hello, and welcome to the Tower Coffee Hour. I'm your host, Ty Tyree, and today we're going to be talking about Mueller happenings, and particularly about Seabrook Square, which is a new development going in across Manor at Manor and Berkman. It's part of the J.J. Seabrook neighborhood, and it's going to have a lot of affordable housing, a coffee shop, some artist lofts and spaces, and we got a chance to talk to the development team as they introduce themselves and the project. So let's go look at what we saw. So here's the Seabrook Square briefing. The development team, all of them were there. Roger Canales is the Regional Development Director for NHP Foundation. And Lauren Avioli, the project manager, was also there and spoke. You'll see her in just a minute. We'll introduce her in just a minute. For Capital A, we had Nicole Joslin, Director of Community Development, and Kevin Howard, Director of Urban Planning, Urban Design. And from Integral Care, we had Ruth Ahern, who's the practice administrator and was very helpful in talking about what's going on. So that's the development team, but I didn't know what PSH was, Permanent Supportive Housing. So we're going to talk about that. But here's Nicole and Kevin, Lauren, and Ruth. So let's see what supportive housing is all about. So permanent supportive housing. It's for people with disabilities who need housing assistance, ongoing support to live healthy, stable, and independent lives. And it includes case management, mental health, substance abuse, employment and wellness, and on-site staffing. And that's one of the things that Integral Care brings to this party is 24/7 staffing on site. And that's pretty important. Chance to video their presentation. And I'm not going to take you through all of it. It's a lot of information. But here's a short video of some of the important points.
And you can see there's pathways here. You can come through the plaza and exit on Manor on your way to Batch or to the bus stop down the street. You can actually, if you've parked in the garage, you can actually come in through this little opening here. And so it's really about creating a lot of like porosity of the site. So it's really convenient to walk and to bike and to use this site as part of the neighborhood and not being kind of an obstruction and not a walled off place in the community, but something that's fully integrated into your everyday experience. Also some really important things, I think there was a lot of interest in non-residential ground floor space, kind of neighborhood amenities, art space, and so we really emphasize that a lot. You see the edge here along the plaza is activated with a lot of doors, a lot of windows. That's primarily Community Cafe. That's a local Black entrepreneur group that is trying to open a coffee shop here that's focused on art of the African diaspora. There's also there's an office for the mural artists that we've brought onto the team, Raisin in the Sun. And we've also, there's 11 artist studios that are affordable resident artist studios. So they're living there, they're working there, and they're engaged in the plaza with the opportunity to, open the doors, play their music, have a sidewalk sale, that sort of thing. So it's a very lively space and fully kind of integrated into the arts as well.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. Who's going to manage that?
The studios?
Yeah, the artist activities.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit to this, but Six Square is going to be helping us fill those spaces, and I think you can speak a little bit.
Helping with the programming,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's our partner for the studios specifically.
Are they like a local group?
The studios? Well, so we don't know.
Six
Oh
Squares.
yes, yeah. They're it's named after the 6 squares of Central East Austin that were historically the part of the African American community, and they've been active there for a while.
Yeah, they're the nonprofit organization associated with the African American Cultural Heritage District. That's between 11th and 12th and 35-ish to, I don't know exactly what the boundaries are, but that's sort of
Yeah.
zone, yeah.
But we all know that the east side, is a changing place, and that this, and I think Six Square sees this as an opportunity to include more of the east side.
I'll also add that the reason we're sort of showing these renderings, these are images that we created for the RFP response. You'll notice that the architecture is very kind of blank canvas right now. We designed the site to know that we could get units, we could deliver on the priorities, but we're really sort of looking for in the future design workshops that we're planning, that's when we're really going to be focusing on how do these public spaces engage with the buildings, what kinds of activities happen in these public spaces, how can we make sure this is a space that feels like it's for the community, it's by the community, it's part of the neighborhood. So I don't want anybody to take this as, these are the buildings that are going to be built, we hope you like them.
The last thing I wanted to point out is some of the sustainability elements. There's kind of, not only do we have another major open space in this chain of open spaces that leads us to the Mueller Southwest Greenway, but we also have some kind of natural stormwater features that are happening in green infrastructure in the front here and connecting all the way back down to that pond that you saw on the other illustration. Also, solar power on the roofs, and I don't know if there's anything else we want to highlight. It's kind of fully integrated in both into the site design as well as the architecture. So here's the project timeline. Right now we're working on development agreements with the city. And by May we should have the design complete, as we have to get all of our permits in before we can break ground and start construction. And so you can kind of see construction starting in fall of 2023, grand opening 2 years later. It's the very high level timeline.
The city has reiterated to us many times though that they're really committed to developing this site, so they want to work with us even if the summer 2023 deadline doesn't happen, that they want to keep things moving. It's a whole ball of wax in that we need it all to be built together, and that's what we're striving to do, but they do have separate funding sources. And Ruth can talk more about that, but in a nutshell, there were funding sources available for permanent supportive housing that were not available for non-permanent supportive housing, and therefore we had to kind of split them up on paper so that we could access that funding for the permanent supportive housing. So that funding will be funding Integral Care already has. I think the integration will happen in the community spaces, like Kevin was talking about, both indoor and outdoor community spaces. But in terms of the units themselves, they are designed to be in one building.
Right, sure, yeah, and it's a specific type of housing model that we're doing. So it's a single site model, which has intensive wraparound supports as part of that type of housing. I don't want to speak out of turn. I do think there may be some options for some tenant-based PSH in the affordable units as well. And so folks that still need that type of permanent supportive housing may be able to bring a voucher and get support from their, their community-based teams. But the Integral Care site is, it's considered a single site model. So it's all housing in one building.
So we've actually made some adjustments to we're still going through the design process, looking at what our unit mix is. We have added more multi-bedroom units. That is affecting our unit count, but we're sort of going through that, the financial model and how much square footage we have in the project to try to balance that unit mix, hearing that there is a desire for more multi-bedroom units. So we've got 4-bedroom units, we've got 3-bedroom units, we've increased 2-bedroom units. So we're responding to that. And trying very hard to incorporate more multi-bedroom units, knowing that that's a priority. As far as the daycare goes, I think that for Integral Care, I've heard a lot from that organization. I'm not speaking for you, but I've heard a lot of those values being that the services there are resident driven, and if they hear from their residents that daycare is needed, then there's going to be an effort to make sure that those services are provided. Right now, we haven't considered a daycare on site because there is a daycare next door.
That's
There,
another story. That's not fair. It's very expensive and the wait list is huge.
I
And
understand.
every other,
yeah, I understand. I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Daycare makes my life possible.
Right.
And I very much value the services and community. I think that this neighborhood should have more options. That wasn't a criteria in the RFP that the city's proposed, and we responded to a competitive process, and we responded to the values that were in that RFP. We're at a point now where adding that kind of programming might be really challenging with the funding and the area that we have and the timeline that we're trying to push on. But we're working on getting everything we can out of this development. So.
Wow. So there's a lot coming. There's going to be 2 more events, and those will be charettes, design charettes, where the neighborhood will have a chance to talk about what they want in the community and in the design. And then, of course, they wrap it around with the finances and see if they can make it work. But we're going to be at both those charettes documenting those. So if you can't make it, you'll have a chance to see it right here on the Tower Coffee Hour. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe down below, and you'll know when we post new things on the Tower Coffee Hour.